I'm at 7520 Tiki Avenue, doing a sanitary lateral inspection for the purchase of a home. And we're looking for any structural issues or anything that would be concerning to the buyer. Our access location is center of the house in the rear of the basement, right outside the half bath, like in the laundry room. And this is cast iron. I expect, based off the age of the house, I expect it to be probably cast iron until it exits the house, and then most likely it will switch over to clay. That's just based off the age of the home and the materials that were common at the time. So the only thing that comes in behind this, most of the house comes down through this stack, or the one directly behind me in that half bath. So got a little bit of like rust build up here on the side. This is common for cast iron. Cast iron's always looks ugly because it does rust. But so what you're really looking for is any kind of holes or maybe some thin spots. And this looks like where something is coming in there to the left, so it's coming in around there, probably the laundry or the bathroom. I'm going to in fact turn on a fixture and see if it's coming through right there, and it's probably the reason why there's that buildup in the kind of the low pressure zone on the back side of how the line comes in. And so sometimes you'll have that mineral deposits and a little bit of buildup there as the water sweeps into the main line. So we're going to run some water here in the downstairs bathroom. Let's see if it comes from behind the camera or if it comes right in there. So yep, you can see how it's coming in right there at that spot, coming in over top of all that mineral deposit and stuff. And so it is something that that is also carrying the kitchen line, which is a big, it's usually the dirtiest line in the house because of the food and the grease that come through there. And so you usually see the most deposits and buildup in that kitchen line. There is no access to that line. We are, as you can see, it comes in right here, but I can't, steer my camera up there. But it is something that usually, that you may have to monitor, but a lot of times they would have to access that directly through that kitchen line. But I think they all come over together. There is a kitchen line that comes down as copper right next to the stationary tub. I believe that is a kitchen line, but so there is a clean out in it. And so, but sometimes you may have to do some like descaling in some of these lines where the mineral deposits, basically because the line's so rough, it makes it easier for things to build up. So it's just something to watch. You are getting flow through the line, but again, it's I'm unable to put my camera through that line just due to lack of access, the camera size versus the entry point. So we'll go ahead and leave the water running for now and just kind of see how the line is functioning. You can see something else that's pretty common. You can see a little bit of a little tiny bit of channeling going on, but the line itself is kept shape. It doesn't have a ton of buildup. I've seen a lot worse. I'm just hoping that I can keep the camera clean in this situation. nothing else, a lot of times you can see a lot better when you're pulling back, and that's just due to the fact that, you know, as you're pushing out, the camera will, you know, kind of plow stuff up in front of the lens, and so it tends to happen like this. I did want to make some notes about the cast iron also, that what I was saying before about how the buildup and stuff like that goes on. It's also something that a lot higher chance for soft clogs, which is like, you know, using excessive toilet paper and stuff like that, kind of like a toilet clog. But in these lines it's a little more prevalent because of how rough the interior of the lines are, as you can see. And so usually, I mean, if you just use toilet paper, everything's fine, but it's a big, I always like to make note of, you know, using wet wipes is horrible for any line, but even more so with cast iron, just because if it does catch, they don't break down in the water like toilet paper does. Toilet paper will kind of disintegrate. It's what it's designed to do. As wet wipes don't do that, and so they just contribute to, you know, higher chances of causing those backups. So as we just left the house, there is it changes over to clay, which is kind of what we expected. And now see, there's a hole there, and I'm not sure if that is a designed hole or not. It does look like maybe it was a break-in tap, but I'll have to locate that on the way back and see if it may be a downspout coming in or something like that. I don't see any earth coming in, which leads me to believe that it's a connection. And what they would try to do is, when they would make these connections, we'll go back and look at it, is sometimes when they didn't have a factory connection, they would just kind of knock a hole in it, and then that would give them access. So what I'll do is I'll locate that on the way back. It's about 34 to 35 feet. And then we'll take a look and see if we can find out what that's for. Because if it was a large, you know, if it was a break, most cases you would see a bunch of dirt and stuff like that coming in. Now it looks like we're switching over to concrete, which is it's a common material, a lot less common than clay, but for this age of house, a lot of times the developers back then would use concrete in the higher end areas. And concrete, you can tell if you look in the bottom on either side, you can see how the water has washed away the kind of coating of it, and it's kind of like concrete on the outside. You'll see the exposed aggregate, all the little stones and stuff like that. But it is a very good material to keep out roots. Clay's biggest issue is root control, and so concrete, the way they made the connections, they seem to do a better job over the years holding up and keeping root intrusion out of the line. See the evidence on either side of the pipe that you know, even under the heaviest loads, doing laundry and showers and stuff, the water levels, you know, getting about a third of the way up the pipe, and so it shows pretty good. It's a you know, pretty good indication that the line's been flowing normally, staying down to a normal level. And we are right at the main there, you can see it. And so, we'll see if I can drop down in here and maybe rinse the camera lens off a little bit. Maybe not. Need some of that water there to... The good news is that we've made it all the way to the main, and everything looked great. There's that one spot at 35 feet we're going to check as we pull back, just to be sure that that is like a knockout connection and not anything concerning. But again, there was no evidence of any kind of earth intrusion or roots or anything in there. So I'd like to get this stuff off the front of my camera, but it doesn't seem to want to. And around in here is where it splashed up and got on there. Now I can get the water. There we go. Give that a minute for the stuff to clear up. There we go. That's a lot better. So yeah, the line looked great. I didn't see any issues at all as far as structural issues or root intrusion. All the connections look really good. So other than the notes I've made about obviously the cast iron and proper usage, and the line looks great. Back into the clay. There's a decent amount of right in here is where we saw that spot. And like I mentioned earlier, like you would have roots coming in and stuff like that. So I believe this is just a knockout connection that just looks really ugly. So I'm going to pause the video here. I'm going to go locate it. We're going to see what that might be a connection for. Okay, so the spot was located, and this is, you can actually see the drip of probably where they made the exterior connection. This is where the floor drain at the base of the HVAC unit is connected. That would be for, it was probably added later for the condensate, and so when they did that, so it's underneath it's also encased in concrete underneath the floor there. So what they did is they kind of did a rough knockout connection for the condensate so that they could make that connection. But the good news is there's no root intrusion, nothing, nothing getting in at that connection. It's like I said, it's a case of concrete and everything is functioning normally. And so the line overall looks really good. Said you do have the obvious, normal maintenance stuff with the cast iron that I mentioned earlier. And so there are options if this ever gets rough that you can kind of do a descaling, like I mentioned on that one spot where the laundry and the sink and all that come in, where we're watching it come in there. And so there may be something that you could come in through that sink line right above the stationary tub. It's too small for my camera, but you might be able to have them kind of descale that line if it ever starts showing signs of slow flow, which would be like if the laundry dumps into the laundry tub, or so don't see where that ties in, but if with all those coming through that one branch, if you ever notice that it's slowing, the flow is slowing down, it might be a good idea to kind of have it descaled, because also you have lint and stuff that's probably getting in there from the laundry, and also liquid fabric softener is a big, actually has a lot of like grease in it, so it also contributes to grease buildup, so it can kind of contribute to that too. But all in all, the line looks really good. Didn't see anything of any concern, just normal things with the house and a material of this age, and so should be good to go. All the connections look good. There were no low spots or bellies. Looked like normal use, and everything is functioning normally. It's open and flowing freely. So that'll end the inspection at 7520 Tiki Avenue